Welcome to my channel, Remember Me. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to recommend a case, solved or unsolved, please contact me on my details below. Kyle Clinkscales. On the night of January 27th, 1976, 22-year-old Kyle Wade Clinkscales left LaGrange to travel 35 miles back to Auburn University where he was a student. After leaving his bartending job at the LaGrange Moose Club at around 11 p.m. in his 1974 two-door Ford Pinto. However, he never arrived and neither he nor his car were ever found. Kyle's parents did not realize he was missing until the following Sunday when he did not call them as usual. They went to his apartment in Auburn and learned from his roommate that he had not been seen since Tuesday. They reported him missing to the police in Auburn and LaGrange. At first, it was believed that he left on his own accord. He was not doing that well in college and had previously dropped out of another school. However, as time passed and no one heard from him, the police and his family began to suspect that he met with foul play. In 1981, a man called himself Danny Moore came forward believing that he was Kyle. He claimed to have had amnesia after getting into a car accident in 1976. When he wrote a letter to Kyle's parents, they believed it matched his handwriting. However, dental records determined that this was not Kyle. On May 27, 1987, a man walking his dog along Flat Shore Creek, south of LaGrange, found Kyle's Exxon credit card. It was still in excellent condition. It expired in 1973, 3 years before he vanished. However, no new evidence came up from this discovery. His parents noted that his wallet had been stolen in 1973, so it is possible that it came from there. In 1996, a man who was friends with Jimmy Earl Jones, who we will get to later in this video, said that the man knew where the body was. Investigators drained a 5-acre lake near the man's property, but they found nothing. Investigators didn't have enough evidence to bring charges. 2005 arrests. In 2005, a 35-year-old man contacted Kyle's parents and told them that when he was 7, he witnessed the disposal of Kyle's body. He claimed that Kyle's killer was a man named Ray Hyde, who died in 2001. He said that Kyle's body had been covered with concrete, stuffed in a barrel, and dumped in a private pond. He also claimed that his grandfather had helped dispose of the barrel and that Hyde had threatened them both. The tipster's information led to the arrest of 63-year-old Jimmy L. Jones in April and Jeanne Pollack Johnson in June of 2005. Searches of the pond where one of the tipsters said the body was turned up no sign of any remains, but there was a barrel-shaped indent in the lake bottom and a metal detector indicated something metal had been in that spot. The informant had said that Clinkscales' body was placed in a metal barrel before it was dumped in the lake. Other information the police received indicated Clinkscales' body had been removed from the lake and put in his car, and that the top of the car was smashed with a backhoe before the car was disposed of in an unknown location. Jones was charged with concealing a death, hindering a criminal arrest, and 2 counts of making false statements. Johnson was also charged with concealing a death, false statements, and obstructing justice. Witnesses placed her at Kyle's home that night, but she denied being there. Investigations learnt that Hyde was a member of the Moose Club where Kyle worked. They believed that they met through it. They also believed that Kyle was killed because of his knowledge of Hyde's criminal activities. Jones later told police that on the night of Kyle's disappearance, he arrived at Hyde's home and discovered Kyle's body. He had been shot to death. He then helped Hyde drag it back into his shop. Before Hyde died, he told Jones that after placing it in the pond, he went back, recovered it, and took it to an unknown location. However, Jones later made other statements to police that contradicted this one. Jones said during his plea hearing that he was at a friend's property that night when Clinkscales showed up, expected to bring money owed to someone else. Jones said his back was turned when he heard two men arguing and then heard two gunshots. When I turned around, I was in shock, and we carried him and put him in the shop, Jones said, according to a hearing transcript. Judge Alan Keeble agreed to delay his sentencing because his plea agreement depended on his testimony against a woman who Jones claimed had been there at the killing. District Attorney Pete Scholastis told the judge he had called Jones to his office before presenting the case against the woman to a grand jury, and when asked again if the woman had been there when Clinkscales was killed, Jones said she was not. The planned indictment fell apart. I questioned him further, and finally he told me that he would say anything that I wanted him to say, which was of no use to me, Your Honor, because I wanted only the truth, Scholastis said. The prosecutor said that Jones had told still another story right after his arrest in 2005, that he had gone to get beer that night in 1976 and returned to his friend's property to see Clinkscales wounded on the ground. Jones said his friend had shot him accidentally and that he helped him carry Clinkscales, still alive, into a shed and never saw him again. Based on all of the inconsistent statements his defense had given, the state is of a position that his testimony is absolutely useless to us, Skandalaski told the judge. Nevertheless, the prosecutor continued to support the plea deal for 4 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation. He would have been a child at the time of the murder. The prosecution stated Jones had made many contradictory statements and characterized his testimony as absolutely useless. He later pleaded guilty to making false statements and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. He was released after serving 7 years. It is not known if Johnson was ever tried for any of the charges against her. Recovery. On December 7, 2021, around 11:20 a.m., deputies with the Chambers County Sheriff's Office were notified of what appeared to be a car submerged in a creek off a County Road 83, approximately 1 mile from County Road 388. When authorities arrived, they saw the partially submerged vehicle, which was visible from the 2-lane roads that runs off the creek. Chambers County Sheriff Sid Lockhart said that the car was found about 3 miles away from what would have been Clinkscales' normal route back to school. Lockhart said he did not know if the area was searched when Clinkscales initially went missing. The car's hatchback was open, but Lockhart said he didn't know if it had come over after years in the water or if the water level in the creek had gone down. Once they arrived on the scene, they recovered the car from the water, and it appeared to be an older model Ford passenger car with a 1976 Georgia tag with a Troup County decal. Chambers County contacted the Troup County Sheriff's Office for assistance in trying to run the tag information. The Troup County Tag Office was contacted, and investigators in the Criminal Investigations Division began to check of any records which they may have had. After verifying information, it was found that the tag and the VIN matched that of a 1974 Ford Pinto Runabout, which was the same car that Kyle Clinkscales was last seen driving on the night of January 27th. The vehicle was then transported to the Troup County Sheriff's Office, where it was processed by special agents with the GBI to determine the contents of the vehicle. In the car, they found personal belongings which appeared to belong to Clinkscales. They also found 50 different skeletal remains, including a partial skull bone, which was sent to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's crime lab for further analysis. Because of this, it may never be known how Clinkscales died. The news outlet reported that Woodruff said the 22-year-old might have accidentally run off the road, but he's not ruling out foul play. Former Sheriff Donnie Turner told the AP he isn't ruling out homicide. Turner told the news outlet that he believes Jimmy L. Jones was at the scene and that Jones was correctly prosecuted for lying to investigators. Aftermath. Martha Morrison, Clinkscales' aunt, was at home in Oxford, Alabama, when she was told about her nephew's Pinto Runabout being found. On Thursday, she traveled to LaGrange to identify it with law enforcement. It was a shock, because after 45 years, you tend to know that it's out there, but you don't think about it every day, Morrison told CBS 42. It was just an emotional breakthrough. John and Louise Clinkscales kept the search alive for their only child for decades until their deaths. spending hours on their own detective work and establishing an organization to help other families search for loved ones. John, who published a memoir detailing Kyle's disappearance, died in 2007. Louise died January 19th at LaGrange Hospital Facility in 2021. Georgia County Sheriff James Woodruff stated, "For 45 years, we've searched for Kyle in his car. We have followed hundreds of leads and never really had anything substantial develop from those leads." Woodruff said, "Just the fact that we have hopefully found him and the car brings me a sigh of relief. I feel like our family can finally have some closure," Clinkscales' aunt stated. "We can bury his remains and at least know that he has peace there." May Kyle Clinkscales rest in peace. Thank you so much for watching this video and for taking the time to remember this case. It would really mean a lot if you could share this video to spread these people's stories in the hope that new information will surface. To recommend a case, please contact me on Instagram or send me an email. Thank you.